Hello and welcome to the Movie Bunker podcast. It's me, Chris.
Me, Matt.
Good afternoon, evening.
Yes, summer evening, rapidly approaching the longest day of the year.
Yeah, it's a hot one, isn't it?
It's nice.
It's
hot.
Like it. It's hot Corona heat. Yeah, how's it going, Matt? Are you all right in your bunker over in the other side of Southampton?
Yeah, it's all right. We've got a giant robot in the kitchen now.
Oh, yeah.
It hasn't got arms, but I'm sure once it gets arms, it'll probably take over the household. And to be honest, I'm ready for that.
Brilliant.
Yeah. I for one welcome our robot overlords. So that's nice.
It's going to happen, isn't it? We've all seen the films. The movies don't lie.
Never lie. You know, coronavirus, robot overlords.
Why do you keep calling it coronavirus?
I don't know. Well, because it's
you got your own virus, and everyone else is.
It feels like it's been so long. I'm on pet name terms with it now. Good old Cora.
Oh, anyway, Matt. For those
it's either Corona, isn't it, or COVID? There's no Cora.
There's no Cora. It's one or two, and it's not. Yeah. It's not a third there. But you know, if it's what you want to do, that's fine.
Me and Cora.
You and Cora living together in peace and harmony. Thanks ever so much for our new listeners for joining us on this epic quest to find all the movies that are badly rated that are actually good and the critics are wrong. And we found one or two, but tonight we're dealing with a kind of DC behemoth.
Yeah, and it's well landed as well, isn't it? Because the Snyder Cut's finally going to get released. So everyone can stop banging on about that, can't they?
Yeah, very topical. It's not like...
It was.
People have been, as you say, banging on about it for years. Well, since 2017. Okay, the year after this movie. And the movie we're doing today is Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Here's the trailer.
Master Wayne. Thermal imaging is showing me 24 hostiles on the 3rd floor. Why don't I drop you off on the 2nd?
Slow in my old age, Alfred.
Even you got too old to die young, not for lack of trying.
He has the power to wipe out the entire human race. If we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty.
The greatest gladiator match in the history of the world. God versus man. Day versus night.
You're psychotic.
That is a 3-syllable word for any thought too big for little minds.
I've known a few women like you.
Oh, I don't think you've ever known a woman like me.
The oldest lie in America is that power can be innocent.
So this is a weird. So if you look obviously on IMDb, it's up there at 6.5s, and everyone's like, "Ooh, that's too high for you guys."
Yeah,
but on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's like 30%, something like that, 28, 30%.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes is very low, and it's a decent splat. And as we always say on this podcast, is the IMDb will always gradually, I think, increase due to over time because the amount of users that will go in and just bump the score up because they're lovers of the franchise. So the kind of real critics will basically get watered down and disappear. It's had, I think, a bit of a bump from the fanboys. It's a weird one, this one, because you've got to be in kind of two camps. I don't know about what you think, but I'm not a DC person at all. I just think the characters are lame. And I like.
Oh, that's a bold move on a public podcast.
I like Marvel Cinematic Universe, but not all of it. Some of it's not as good. It's subpar. But I just I've just put my cards on the table. I've never been interested in Superman. Never been interested in Wonder Woman. I've never been interested really in Batman. I've interested in, say, maybe watching the movies and seeing the different takes on it. But they just don't do anything for me. And so this is a combination of everything really that just is dull.
Superman has the super problem, right? Which is the fact that he is just too hard, right? There's nothing he is too powerful to the point that you have to create these crutches for him. You have to create the weaknesses of kryptonite or something else.
You have to create a MacGuffin in order to make it watchable combat. Yeah.
But obviously, Batman Batman V. Because I'm reading it and it's doing my head in because I'm reading it and I'm saying it like a letter rather than the thing that it is. Batman v Superman.
Superman. Oh, hey, Mr. Superman. Jesus Christ.
Batman v Superman obviously was widely anticipated. Zack Snyder coming on board after Man of Steel. Did he Man of Steel? He did as well.
He did indeed, yeah.
Yeah. And The Watchmen, which I really like. In fact, quite a few Zack Snyder films I like, and always visually appealing. So that's one thing where you can get out the gate, right? It's just, this is going to look pretty. It's going to look pretty. There's going to be some very sort of religious iconography in the sort of slow-mo kind of capture sequences. Those things. There's all that lovely stuff. And it is a feast for the eyes. Some of the CGI is not great, but yeah. I was looking forward to this film, and we were talking before the podcast. I've watched this film, how many times? I've watched this 3 times now, this film. And each time I go to it, think to myself, it can't be as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm sure it's enjoyable. I'm sure I was just in the wrong frame of mind, or I compared it to Civil War because it's released in the same year. In fact, they had to move this film to avoid clashing of the opening days. And taken away from that brilliant film, just there on its own as a cool little superhero film, it will stand up and it'll be good. But it's not.
The things wrong with this is like there's so much substance to it, and it takes a lot of the sort of, for me, it's my opinion, is it takes a lot of like basic storytelling tropes and styles of filmmaking, and just it doesn't give you anything that's lean. It's bulky. It's flabby. It's flaccid. It's kind of like a big lumpy mess. And it's long. This is a 2.5 hour movie.
So long.
There's a director's cut, which is even longer, which is apparently works better. And I think I did see that version, but to me, these two didn't make a great deal of difference. Cast-wise, it's fine. We've got some decent cast in here. Before we go into the cast, the plot synopsis is this.
Oh yeah, you might as well do that.
I think most people will know the general gist of this, but fearing that the actions of Superman are left unchecked, Batman takes on the Man of Steel while the world wrestles with what kind of hero it really needs. And, in that kind of brief plot synopsis, you get a decent tagline of the movie. It makes sense that, yes, are people going to be looking at Superman and thinking, what have we got on our hands here? Is it safe? And this is all the questions that are brought up into the movie.
It's a really bright opening, right? I remember watching this film and sort of seeing, and it's having had the reviews, and I'm watching the film, and it starts off, and it basically starts obviously at the kind of like on the ground view of the ending of Man of Steel, kind of answering to some of the critics from the first film saying, oh my God, how many people would have died in that final battle in Superman?
Yeah.
And it kind of takes that view of it, right? And it's got Batman running around the streets and They're fighting in the distance. Everything's crashing down. His employees are the most loyal employees in the world because they're still at work. There's literally an alien spaceship tearing a hole in the earth just outside the window.
Yeah.
And they actually wait for him to phone up and go, do you know what? Take the rest of the day off. You can make it up next week. Because they're like, oh, should we go? Should we leave now? And even then, one of them doesn't just peg it out of the building. One of them still stood there with his mobile phone talking to Bats, and he's running to the building. I don't know what he's looking to achieve apart from...
No, he does that very heroic run into a falling building. But yeah, I mean, I think most of his employees must have been British, because it kind of seems like the sort of thing we do. Everything's fine. It's an alien invasion. It's fine. The whole opening, I was surprised at how much it kind of worked, because you kind of get a really a good understanding of where the conflict will come from, because you think Batman v Superman, surely not. They're both superheroes. They must be working together on the same side, but no. There's a real hatred there, isn't there? Bruce Wayne is furious that this is happening and all these people are dying and it's unchecked.
Yeah.
Superman likewise is unhappy with the vigilante Batman that's running around doing whatever he's doing, and I mean, whose side would you be on?
He's kind of taking the piss there a bit. And also, I just need to point out that when we still talk about the beginning of the film, we're talking about the bit, like we're saying with the start, the actual beginning of the film is another take on fucking Batman's parents dying, which we need to see again? It's just like, and it's got it's got Negan in it. And you're like, if only he was in this film more. Because we just don't need to see it again. And the bloody pearls.
All the pearls.
And do you know, I don't think the pearls are in the comic, right? I think the pearls were a Tim Burton manufacture. And it's just been kind of taken and run with since. That might be completely wrong. And please, internet warriors, tell me if that is wrong. But I believe that's right. But it might be wrong. But I believe it to be right.
The whole reason why Batman hates Superman, it sets out really nicely. It's a really good opening to the movie, and the music's good. A Hans Zimmer score is on there, and it sounds pretty brooding and as what you would expect. Cast-wise,
but the hatred between Superman and Batman, though, like I don't get it. Like because you see Superman, he's watching TV, and Batman had rescued a bunch of people being sex trafficked.
Yes,
and as such, had branded the bad guy. And Superman looks really perturbed about this. He's like, "Oh my god, he can't be doing that. He's a bad person." When just literally a scene earlier, he went to rescue his missus and put a fucking guy through a wall at about 200 mile an hour.
Yeah,
he ain't getting up from that.
And that whole storyline is confusing.
It's weird. I don't understand it. How did they think Superman shot people?
I don't know. I don't get it. But there's about 2 or 3 threads in this movie of story, and that's where it gets a bit silly. Let's talk about the cast. Ben Affleck as Batman, and you've got Henry Cavill returning as Supes, Amy Adams coming back as Lois. You've got Jesse Eisenberg doing what can only be kind of like an embarrassing turn as Lex Luthor. Diane Lane is back. Lawrence Fishburne is back, who's quite good. Jeremy Irons is Alfred, brilliant. Holly Hunter, Gal Gadot, sorry. Scoot McNairy, who's good. And everyone's favourite bad guy or henchman, Callum Mulvey, is in it as a sort of protagonist.
Yeah.
It sort of dwindles there in terms of cast. But there's your main bunch. Ben Affleck as Batman, what do you reckon?
While I was watching this film last night, I was, again, I think he had a bit of a disservice, right? So obviously after Nolan's Batman, which I think everyone's in agreement, generally speaking, that they're all fantastic films, right? They're layered, they're nuanced, they're very, very good. So this was kind of like the first time we saw a different take of Batman, a sort of a less kind of grounded, I guess. And I felt sad that there wasn't a better base for Batman in this film. or even just a better Batman film, because I think he would have done all right. I kind of like the old grizzled Batman, right? Because the comics that this is based on is the Dark Knight Returns, I think. I remember where it's an older Batman. I mean, the that opening scene kind of ages him horribly as well, because it states on the hoardings of the cinema that Excalibur's coming next Wednesday, and Excalibur's like 1981. It's like a 10-year-old there, so that put him like in his mid-50s. All right.
Yeah, that would make sense. I think he's good as Batman. He's got the right kind of jawline, and he's beefed up. I think he's a bit, I don't know, I just think he's a bit, he looks big. He looks so big, and you could just, he's more of like a brute force man, as opposed to any kind of ninja
but that
quality.
ties in with that comic book where he's older, so he's lost all of his speed and stuff, so he has to kind of rely on kind of raw power.
Brute strength.
Just to sort of, and there's a couple of fight scenes right at the end when he's going in to rescue Martha, one of the Marthas, sorry. He's going to rescue Martha too. It's a really good Batman scene, basically, where he's just absolutely like brutalizing the people in there, and it's really good, and you're just like, that would have been good. And there's loads of little like cookies and stuff
Easter eggs.
Are
you hungry?
I'm hungry. There's loads of cookies and chicken. And, there's loads of Easter eggs of like they have like a costume, a Robin's costume with all the sort of Joker writing on it from when Joker killed one of his Robins. And you're like, why am I not watching that film? Why am I not watching that story? Because that would be so much more fucking interesting.
Yes, I wondered what that was. That's the costume hanging in the kind of his Batcave, isn't it?
Yeah. So that again ties to another sort of one of the.
But that's stupid, isn't it, to put that there? Because you just think, why? I didn't understand that. I thought that was something from the previous Batman film where they, in one of the Dark Knights, where with the Nolan ones, where the body comes crashing against that window, and it's some bloke being dressed up, and it's got all the Joker's writing on it, and it's like a jump scare. I thought it was like a little nod to that franchise.
No, so it's when the Joker killed his little.
That's a crime, because that left me very confused. Well, I was confused for all of it, really. I didn't have
it is confusing.
I didn't know what was going on. The whole Lex Luthor thing. Is he kind of basically the boss of Facebook? Isn't he? He's like a
which is weird, right? Because obviously he's played that guy.
But he does that kind of thing quite well. You kind of think, where's he going with this? This is quite different. And it's all the little mannerisms he brings to it are weird. And then they get embarrassing. I think, what? Who signed off on that? Because he goes, ooh, and it's like, and he goes off on that. When he does that little
good impression.
When he does that little talk with his employees, and he sort of goes off on one, and he goes, what do you? And you just think, and everyone's looking at him going, what the?
Yeah, there is a lot of criticism that was handed at him. So, like, is he playing the Joker, or is he playing the Riddler, or is he actually meant to be Lex Luthor? It's a weird one, because the Lex Luthor we all know, the Gene Hackman, the Kevin Spacey Lex Luthors, they're all the same kind of super intelligent, very controlled, working in the background kind of thing. And then you got like the mad prince of business running around shooting 3-pointers and fucking buying up Krypton because he knows that's going to do something. How the fuck does he know that's going to do shit?
He knows nothing. And also, he's not intimidating as such. It's just like quite a petulant child. And there's a bit where he's with Amy Adams' character, obviously Lois Lane, and he's being intimidating, but she could fucking have him. She could have just elbowed him in the face and it would have been over and done with. It was ridiculous. He's just a complete non-character, and it was embarrassing. And I'm sure he regrets doing that role, Jesse Eisenberg, because he's a decent actor. But I'm sure he looks back on that and goes, because Zack Snyder should have definitely thought about maybe running that through a few more people before it kind of got to the camera filming stage. It was just odd.
Definitely. They needed to work on it. I understand they could have, updated him so that, the social media kind of ugly arc or whatever he is meant to be. It makes sense, right? But he just didn't need to be as a babbling, that's one of those roles where if it's played still, like, all the danger is not on screen, it's the machinations behind him, it's the thought process, it's the plots. That's what brings him the danger, not just being a weird edgy fucking loser that the only time you hang around with him is because he's got shitloads of cash.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Henry Cavill, Superman, I think is very bad casting as well. I think he's bland. I don't know.
So Superman, so it's perfect.
Do you reckon? Okay. Well, yeah, Superman is... What is it all about? I don't know. He's just weird.
What's it all about? Yeah. It's because, in the time when it was invented, that's the kind of thing that they wanted. They didn't want, real people that bled. They didn't, people didn't want that. They wanted the, very bright, open, optimistic things where, he'd turn up at a bank, they would try and shoot him, the bullets would bounce off, and then he'd put them in jail. That's perfectly exactly what they would have wanted.
So they basically, in the time since the early kind of incarnations of Superman, they've tried to give him more of a human element, a bit of a an emotional side. And does it really...
I found one thing that Superman can't do. He might be able to fly through the air. He might be able to run faster than the Flash. He might be able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. He cannot make eggs. Those fucking eggs he were frying, they needed to be taken out of the pan about 2 days ago.
Well, he didn't flip them either, did he?
Rubbery, horrible pieces of shit they would have been.
That second note I wrote down is that you don't fry eggs topless.
No, the fat splatters would be intensely painful. But then you're Superman, right?
Exactly. And then I instantly kind of thought, well, actually, if you're going to do it, be Superman and do it, because he's impervious to pain. So,
but it'd be an instant giveaway, right? You'd walk into the building, he'd be stood there cooking eggs topless, and you'd be like, "You must be fucking Superman."
Oh shit! He didn't put his glasses on.
That would be it. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't do that. I've done it. I don't think I haven't done it, but I would never do it. I think I got splattered by a sausage once without a top on, and that was bad enough. But cooking a fried egg without a top on is suicide. What did you think of Jeremy Irons' Alfred? It's a very different take on an Alfred that we've seen, a bit more savvy, a bit more of a techie person, very quick, and almost, I guess, more of a sidekick as opposed to anyone working. I liked some of the bits where... I like the fact that I've just asked you a question and I'm actually not going to listen to the answer. But I like the way the bits where...
Let me ask you a question, Chris. What did you think of Jeremy Irons in this?
Well, Bruce Wayne sort of brings him coffee, and they kind of have a bit more of a level. There's not that subservience to this character. It's not like waiting on him hand and foot. It's kind of very dry, as you would expect from Jeremy Irons. Very quippy. And I think that worked really well. To me, he was a great Alfred. I don't know what you think. I'm going to ask you again. What did you think?
I'd like Jeremy Irons.
That's enough.
Like Holly Hunter, it's two people that you can't really do bad. If you like Jeremy Irons in this, then go watch the series of Watchmen, because it's basically the same role, right?
Yeah. He's very good in that.
Very good. And
Lawrence Fishburne is equally delivering a quality role. I know he's not. I
don't know. It's awful, isn't it? He just shouts. I mean, like the titles he comes up with, the headlines are rubbish. He just basically says a sentence about what's in the news and then puts his hands up and then goes to the people next to him, write that story. It's like, fuck hell. It's like, that's not how you run a paper.
Yeah, I just like him. I think he's just got a good screen presence. One thing I found was in another bit of lazy filming, because this film's got a lot of lazy filming all the way through it, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Clark Kent is getting roasted by Perry White, Lawrence Fishburne's character, in the middle of the floor, of the shop floor, if you like. He's basically getting his ass handed to him about not doing his job, essentially. But all the background actors, because they're just having little conversations and getting on with their sort of routine, smiling happily, chatting, whilst someone's getting roasted in the middle of the office. And that never happens. Whenever that happens, I don't know if in my work, it's kind of like awkward. Everyone's kind of
stops. looking. Yeah.
Everyone's looking and they're not looking, and it goes, Jesus Christ, did you see that? It was stupid, and I think that sort of thing in film in general is just a bit of is lame. And I just thought, oh God, once you notice things like that, and that's where my brain goes and overthinks things. And plus, Clark Kent wouldn't be working for that newspaper. The amount of times that he doesn't do what he's told, it just goes off and doesn't write a sports feature and goes off and tries to do some secret detective work.
Again, I think Lawrence Fishburne's character in this is just on like day release to the paper. I don't think he's really the editor, because you don't go to a journalist, you go write about football. Right? That's like a specialization, right?
Yeah.
You've got guys that write about, football, and you got people that write about like film and entertainment, right? Like if we suddenly I said to you, right, quickly, talk about football. That's not my thing, right? It's not my thing.
You've got journalists that would do the hard stuff, like going into doing politics, and then you'd have the junior writers would be doing the human stories, like the page fillers and stuff like that. That's how generally it works.
Is it worth mentioning more of the plot? Because there is more plot, right? Because as you mentioned in the beginning, there's like in Africa, he goes and rescues Lois, and whilst rescuing Lois, all of the mercenaries shoot other bad people around. Superman gets blamed for it, which is again what I don't understand, but they use special bullets. Lois has a bullet in a bath, has a little cry about it. But fundamentally, what comes to pass is that they kind of put Superman on trial, right? Should he have this this unfettered power? Should he be held accountable for what he does, kind of thing? And then the problem with this film is that so much of it couldn't possibly be anticipated or happen.
Yeah.
It's like, how did they know that he would turn up there?
Yeah.
How did they know that people would find out about the bodies? How did they know he wouldn't just land and go see all the dead bodies, incinerate them, so no one found out? So clearly I'm being framed here. How did they know he'd turn up to trial? He might just go, no, I'm not doing that.
And also, by putting him on trial, did they actually think the outcome of the trial would make any difference whatsoever to the situation anyway? Because he is like indestructible. So, if they say
they wanted. I mean, obviously, it's all boils down to Lex Luthor. He wanted them to fight, Batman and Superman to fight.
Yeah, he orchestrates that situation. But
why would he want that? Because Superman would just normally like turn Batman into paste, right? Just like, and then he's paste. There's nothing in between.
Lovely paste sandwich.
Yeah, it's just a little Batman paste. It's weird. So there's so many little weird leaps, and then obviously there's a massive explosion at the court case because the guy that had his legs crushed right at the beginning, he ends up just somehow being very important and pivotal to this trial. They let him in, and the chair that he's been given by Lex Luthor explodes. Are they meant to think that was Superman exploding the place? I just got confused and a little bit bored of trying to work out what was going on.
Yeah, that's the big white. Is it the White Russian or no? It wasn't the White Russian. There's the boat, isn't there, which is alluded to right all the way through the film until you work out
the White Portuguese.
The White Portuguese, not the White Russian. That's a very tasty drink. But there's a bit where they're trying to work out the detectiveness of Bruce Wayne's trying to work out who the White Portuguese is. Who is he? Is he Lex Luthor, or who is it? Is this other character like Callum Mulvey's character? And it turns out it's the boat that the big lump of kryptonite's being delivered on. But I mean, it doesn't matter because obviously you get all this crappy story, and everyone just wants to see the two of them fighting, and so.
But it takes an hour.
It takes a long time. It takes longer than that, I think, because you're in there for 2.5 hours anyway. I think it's longer than that.
It takes an hour before they even get to be like in costume on screen together.
Yeah, but then that's all kind of fine, I guess. It's just very crash bang wallop, which it would be. There's always a deserted warehouse. There's always a deserted docks. There's no people around, yet they're being hurled through the sky across, massive car parks, derelict buildings. It's like, well, where is this happening? So, well, we're going to get.
I've also got issues with the first time Superman and Batman get to screeners together. It's like, so Batman's chasing. The people that ultimately, that ultimately trying to kill Superman, right? So he's chasing them, and then he turns around the corner, and Superman's just stood in the road. Superman trashes his car, pulls him out of the car, he doesn't stop the criminals.
No.
He's like, let them go. Clearly, he knows what's going on because he's Superman, right? He can hear things. He'd hear them talking about being criminals. He'd see Batman shooting them, and despite his methods, that he disagrees with, a bit of branding. I mean, it's not driving someone through a fucking wall, but a bit of branding that he hates.
He's trying to build the brand, isn't he? Anyway, ultimately.
Yeah, it's like it's like trying to get on Insta.
See on a t-shirt. Just do on a t-shirt, Batman. Jesus.
Yeah. Just pop a t-shirt on him, selfie with it. But yeah, it's just weird. Like, why would you not fucking stop the criminals? Because like, he could do that, right? He'd be like, smash that, right, and then go, right, Batman, this is how you do it, mate. You don't.
Well, but also the what's in the back of the truck is the kryptonite that will ultimately cause problems for for Superman. So why didn't he, as you say, exactly as you just said, why didn't he stop that from going on? Take that stuff away and
put it somewhere. Because at that point, he could have just gone. Oh, bloody hell. What's that in the back of that? That's not making me feel very nice.
Surely you would know.
Batman, can you go and store this somewhere? Because, I trust you, maybe, to sort this out. And then none of this doomsday bullshit would have happened, right? None of all the rest of it wouldn't have. Or is that a second plot? Is there any need for kryptonite for doomsday?
No, I don't think. Well, he needs it to cut his fingerprints off, doesn't he, old Lex Luthor?
Yeah, he's got his little bit for that, hasn't he?
He's got a little shard of it. Let's just say that once we get the big crash bang wallet bits with Batman and Superman with his special like robot suit that he's wearing, which looks really ridiculous with his giant boots.
I like that, to be fair.
Oh, come on. It's rubbish.
It's very similar to the comic.
Is it? Like okay. Well, then he basically creates some dust that Superman inhales and then becomes weak. Takes all his powers away in just the right amount so that he could be pummeled, and then gets
only
for a bit. And then he creates a spear. This training montage, isn't there? I forgot to say that. I've written that down, so I must. Yeah. Brilliant training montage with a tire, and and then it's kind of like a face-off.
Do you know what they should have done though with that training montage? It's kind of interspersed it with Superman doing stuff. So like there would be like smashing a sledgehammer into a tire. Yeah. And then you could just have had like Superman just hurling a tire into the fucking sun.
Yeah. He could be like bench pressing some sort of giant 747.
Yeah. It'd been nice to have that sort of juxtaposition to realise, mate, you probably don't need to sort of hit the weights. It's pointless. You may as well sit down, have a beer, put your feet up, and rely on
wait for it all to blow over. But the old Martha thing. I mean, it is.
Are we not going to mention Wonder Woman? Because
I'm getting to Wonder Woman because she doesn't come till the end.
Yeah, she's a bit in it, right?
Is she?
When he's trying to do his covert stuff of downloading, well, basically when he's trying to set up the next film for us, she's there and she nicks his hard drive, doesn't she?
That's right.
I just put down in really capital letters that Wonder Woman is not covert because she wears the most incredible outfits.
Yeah.
And it's striking, right? Like if there was one person in the crowd you're going to remember or look at, it's her.
It's Prince Diana, and she's sneaking around just like Batman is, and they're having a bit of a to and fro with a hard drive, which it's not. What is it? It's not even a hard drive. It's like a big dongle, isn't it? It's like a weird thing that. Yeah, why do all these devices get created that go that take a certain amount of time to upload something, and clearly. All that information would not fit on that hard drive, surely.
Wait, no, it was 4 videos. I mean, come on, he could have had like a little thumb drive for it. But I just like all of the stuff. Like I mentioned this in the Broken Arrow one. It's like, why would a bomb have a countdown time, like a missile? But you've also got other stuff like right at the beginning when they break his camera open and find the tracking device, and it's flashing. Like, why the fuck would you make it flash?
Especially if it's going inside something, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's a covert thing. Don't make it flash. You've got one job, right? Covert, remember this. And then, like you said, the hard drive thing with a very visible screen with a percentage gauge. There's always a percentage gauge. And if anyone's ever sat and waited and watched a Windows download, those percentage gauges are bullshit anyway, because it gets to 99 and it stays there for the rest of the fucking day. It's like, oh, it only took 5 minutes to get to 98. Surely this is only like a 10-minute job. No, 2 hours later, still on 99.
There's another bit later on where Bruce Wayne plugs that same device into his computer, and he's not looking at anything, but he's just staring at the screen as it's uploading or downloading, if you like. He's just looking at it, thinking, right, yeah, no one does that. Make a cup of tea, come back later. Surely there's all this information and graphs and like lines going on at the bottom of the screen. It's like, what is that telling him? Nothing. It's just ridiculous, empty bloody pixels, isn't it? It's ridiculous. But yeah, Gal Gadot turns up and then she comes back later on. Every time her image comes on screen, you get the jungle drums, don't you? Which is like her little theme tune, which is quite nice. The kind of electric cello. But when she turns up at the end, it's quite nice, but because it kind of lifts the movie into something that's enjoyable, because she's hard as nails. But can we talk about the Martha in the room? Because
yes,
what is it's just awful, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's just bad. And also, it's not uncommon, right? It's not an uncommon name. And he'd be like, don't talk about mum. Or whatever, because Batman doesn't kill, right? But apparently killing Superman's fine. I just don't see why you'd have a massive reaction. And also, why not, like... The problem with this is that I think this whole film could be put down an allegory of male toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
Because if these guys just spoke, right? If during that whole like standing in the street staring at each other, Superman just went, "Oh, I'm not here to fight Batman. I just came over here to say my mum's been kidnapped.
Yeah.
She's called Martha. I don't know if you've got any. Have you got any Marthas in your family?" Like, oh, yeah. My mum's called Martha. That's fucking weird, isn't it? And could you help me out? Because I'm going to need a bit of help with this. Just talk, guys. Just get out there and talk about your feelings.
Yeah, loads of opportunity just to say, whilst I'm punching you at this very close range, could be telling you the information that I've come to tell you, and it's a trap. Or whatever, and it sucks.
But they don't, and they fight. But it's a weird thing. It's a weird fight as well, right? Because as we saw in the first instance, when he saved Lois, he can cross the room in less time than you could pull a trigger, but yet he chooses to walk incredibly slowly towards Batman. Kind of flex off, isn't they?
The thing is, it doesn't work as a movie, ultimately, does it? You can't really bring this to screen. And I haven't even read the comic book, so I don't know. But, I mean, I'm telling you, as a non-comic book reader of this DC thing, I can tell you now, although it's been and gone, it won't work. Yet they've done it, and it didn't. So it sounds just... It's just be a stupid thing. Oh, you get an idea of this movie, don't you? In that film, I Am Legends, where they had the poster in the derelict San Francisco or New York or wherever that film's set, where Will Smith is hunting wild deer, and then there's a massive poster. Yeah. And there's a big poster of Batman versus Superman in the background. And ever since then, it's been one of those things. It's like, oh, this needs to be made. This needs to be made. And they made it, and sorry, it sucks. The whole Doomsday thing at the end is just a plot MacGuffin just to have some more smashy bashy wallop.
Smashy bashy wallop, bang bang, yeah.
I think the good thing about
look good though.
Yeah, the good thing about that montage, or that scene rather, is you get to see Wonder Woman flexing her muscles, and she's good in it. And I think the Wonder Woman movie is good as well. Just to sort of point that out, that wasn't a flop. That was definitely a very successful movie. And
looking forward to the sequel to that one.
Sequel if we ever see it. But yeah, I mean, ultimately you get the smashy bashy crashy wallop. I think I've probably got room to say that a few more times in the podcast. But with this giant human King Kong thing, ape type alien dude who's got like enormous power, too much power essentially, and then
it's like a hyper Zod, right? It's just Zod times 10 or something.
Looks a bit like a cross between like the Alien Resurrection character, like dude, and like an ape. It's just shit.
But why did so long to get there? Is that you don't even care? You just want it to end.
What was the motivation for Lex Luthor to create that thing? That's what I don't understand.
Because we're on accelerated time here. Because we don't know why he doesn't like Superman. We don't know why he wants to make Superman and Batman fight. We don't know what his end game is, right? What's his end game? It's like if he releases this thing on the world, is he in control of it because he gave a bit of his blood? Is that the point? It's unclear what the fucking point is of any of this. Like, everyone's motivations in this film are weird, right? Apart from maybe Batman and maybe Wonder Woman. Apart from Batman and Wonder Woman, everyone else's motivations in this film are just unclear. Superman hating Batman doesn't make any sense.
No.
He hasn't done anything that he himself hasn't done. Bearing in mind, at the end of the first film, obviously, he killed thousands of people in the pursuit of one bad guy. All Batman's doing is being slightly, he's not using his words again when dealing with sex traffickers, for fuck's sakes. Yeah. So it just doesn't make any sense. Batman kind of makes sense because, like I said, he saw the whole killing thousands of people thing, and it's like, if this guy turned, he could just take out this whole world and nothing we could do about it. I think that's what he says in one of the bits. But yeah, no, Jesus Christ, it's just really confusing and really disappointing because it feels like it could have been better. Could have been better.
And we have some crazy dream sequences, which are worth saying, which are quite nicely filmed.
Yeah, but they're needed, aren't they? Because it's so dry and action-free that I think he got to an hour into the film and just went, oh shit, in this action film, there's been no action.
Yeah.
So throw a dream sequence in there.
Yeah, they were nice. They were nice to look at. I think things like to sort of bring this kind of main part of the podcast to a sort of general close would be to say that, because we have to say something positive about it because it isn't that good. I think from my point of view, it sucked, but Ben Affleck was good, and some of the casting was pretty nice as well. And yeah, it was nice to look at, and the music was good. But it's very ill-conceived. It's very long, and I suppose most of the people listening to this podcast have probably seen it anyway, or have been, decided not to see it based on the bad reviews. And I think what we're trying to say is, what I'm trying to say on this podcast, this episode rather, is that there isn't really any point going to see this one or seeing this one, even out of morbid curiosity, because there isn't enough in it to sort of even laugh at. I mean, sometimes these bad movies that we do are funny because they're kitsch or because they're so bad they're good, sort of thing, or they want
they move the plot along, right?
But
I think you could happily delve into the Snyder cut of Justice League and not have watched this film, and I don't think it would make any difference at all.
But did it make any money? Is the thing?
Oh, it made a fortune. It sort of broke records. Like, it had, I think, one of the highest opening weekends, followed by one of the historically biggest decreases. So basically, everybody went and watched this on the first day. Like huge numbers, bigger than Jurassic Park, bigger than Avengers. So yeah, it made mad money, like 100 million. Apparently, it's still seen as a little bit of a failure because it didn't have that longevity, right?
Yeah,
it didn't make the magical billion, which the last couple of few Marvel films are sort of have crashed through. So, but yeah, it made crazy money, as did the Justice League film. But you just compare it to the film. It's weird, isn't it? Because these two films, the Batman versus Superman and the Justice League, both came out in the same year as incredibly similar Marvel properties, right? So this one came out against Civil War, where you've got Captain America versus Iron Man, and then the Justice League came out against Infinity War, where you've got this big bad alien guy with a huge hammer running around, and is fully CGI. The team has to come together to defeat it. It's like, oh, that could literally be the plot synopsis of both of them. But the other films are so much better. Like, if you want to see two superheroes going at it, watch Civil War. Yeah. It's brilliant.
Are you going to get a decent Batman film now that we've got? What's his name from Patterson doing it? Patterson. I mean, obviously that's had a break from filming due to COVID, but I believe Cora's at it again. Is that going to sort of right the wrongs of this new kind of Batman, or the latest Batman incarnation hasn't potentially worked and hasn't got the legs. Are we just going to get?
I'm prepared to be surprised by film. I like being surprised. There's various films that have surprised me by being good. I mean, I didn't expect Wonder Woman to be particularly good.
Yeah.
Because it seems weird, right? Wonder Woman is a stupid name, but that was very good. Enjoyed that. Guardians of the Galaxy, I had no hope for that. I thought that was going to be stupid, and it's easily one of my favorite films now. So yeah, I'm prepared to be won over again.
I'm not bothered. I've got no intention of going to the cinema to see it, and I'll probably will wait just for it to come out on general release or something and just borrow it off somebody else.
What if they say it's really good?
I won't. I still won't bother. I can't be bothered, Matthew.
But if they say it's really good?
I won't be bothered. I still can't be bothered. I can't be bothered, Matthew.
If they put it on the must-watch list, they go, this is a must-watch.
But they did that for Joker, and I've had that Blu-ray lent to me before lockdown. It's in fact well before lockdown, and I still haven't bothered to put it in my DVD player and watch it because I borrowed it out of curiosity because everyone was going on about it. Joaquin Phoenix has gone on to win an Oscar for the performance of the Joker in it, obviously, and I still just haven't got the connection to that character. So not even out of curiosity, I just can't bring myself to play it. It's been 10 weeks. It's been more than 10 weeks. It's been like 20 weeks I've had that.
And you've been stuck indoors as well.
And I still haven't reached for that to put it on. It's not
really a quarantine lockdown film, to be fair. It's not happy enough.
I know it's a depressing watch. I think that's the kind of movie I don't like watching anymore. I used to maybe get into that gritty stuff, but nowadays I just don't really want to be brought down. I want to be brought up. My movie experiences are something that I just want to take me away from it in a good way, not in a bad way.
Which is why we do this podcast.
Yeah. So that's it. It's dead. It's dead to me. Like Bruce's parents for the umpteenth time. This is a pearl necklace of a film.
Cool.
It's review time.
Yeah, I don't know if I can be bothered with the reviews really, because I had a look through, and most of them, there's just too many. There's 3,657 of them.
Okay, so basically, we're saying even though we've panned it, we're going against the podcast legacy that we're leaving by our children. And we're not following with the standard protocol of the actual podcast, and we're not going to do reviews. Is that what you're saying? You're going against 2 years of editing and content to buck the trend, and I'm happy with that, to be honest. I'm with you 100%. I will read.
Like we said, with modern films, it's getting hard to find legitimately crazy reviews.
I will read a couple. I'll read one out, or at least that's 10 out of 10, just for old time's sake. Best comic movie since The Watchmen. Zack Snyder not only understands the characters, but he also understands how to craft a real amazing movie for fans. Honestly, it blew me away. Brilliant. Don't believe what the internet is telling you to think. Take this from a person who has worked in the comic book industry. This is amazing. So I reckon he probably just stacked the shelves at the local newsroom. But there you go.
I have got one just in case.
But you're not going to
edit out that previous bit.
No, I'm not. I'm going to keep it in there. It's a dying segment.
It's not really one of my favourite segments, but all of the reviews are quite wordy. But I have managed to find one that's quite small, and it contains something stupid, which I like.
Yeah.
So, Frost Chris contains spoilers. Ben Affleck was amazing as Batman as he put the dark in Dark Knight. How did he put the... Anyway, I love the bit when you see Flash after the nightmare scene with the parademons. So he liked the bit that made no sense and doesn't tie into anything so far ever.
That rubbish bit.
Wonder Woman and Superman were so badass they made Nick Fury from Marvel look weak. Well, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Those two would make literally anybody look weak.
Yeah.
Especially a one-eyed old man.
True.
Zack Snyder is a legend. Schneider is a legend and should be praised, not slated. Well,
I mean, lots of filmmakers, Matthew, have duds, don't they? They don't necessarily come true on their previous winners. So M. Night Shyamalan is a perfect example of someone who's lauded, had a great sort of directorial debuts and stuff, and then has content and the quality has slipped, and has tried to find that redeeming or redemption in terms of its movies and what he's been producing.
What was the weird one with the grass that spoke to Mark Wahlberg? What was that?
Oh,
one?
The Happening.
Oh, that was. I still to this day can't work out whether or not they were meant to be badly acting in that.
No, it's a good film, that one, to do potentially in the podcast in the future.
Yeah,
but The Lady in the Water is the one I want to do, because that was poor, but I've got it on DVD, and I found it the other day. And we must do that one. But yeah, I mean, it's similar in a way that Zack Snyder is basically riding on his sort of riding a wave, and has a very, very loyal fan base and following amongst a very specific nerdy type of person, or a devout following.
I would really love if the Schneider cut just turned out to be like a massive pile of shit, like so hugely pile of shit, like that everyone, even the biggest fanboy in the world, could not defend it. That's what I'd want to happen, because there's a reason executives looked at it and went, "We're not putting that out. We'll butcher this film, but we're not putting that out." There's a reason for that. So it would be hilarious, right? I mean, also I'd quite like it to make sense and be good, because you know, it wasn't, as we just said. But if it turns out to be a huge steaming turd of a cut of a film, then that would also make me giggle my little balls off.
It would definitely silence. There'd be a brand new hashtag, which was being, why did we release this?
Bury the Snyder Cut.
There's a lot of people on Twitter getting a lot of shit about that. If you can't say anything bad about the Snyder Cut, otherwise you'll be
because
hunted
it's
down.
Schrodinger's cut, right? It is infinitely good and infinitely bad at the same time, because you can't look at it. So that's fine. You can have this, and you go, "Oh, it would have been brilliant because he was going to do this," and even Snyder himself pitched in and go, "Oh man, I was going to be so good because I was going to do this thing, and it's going to be so cool because there's going to be a guy flying in on a super bike and stuff." And it's brilliant. You can talk about this and pretend that it's all brilliant, but it's actually going to go out there now, so it's no longer both states of both being, you know, perfect art form and awful shit. It will be one of those two things.
The other thing as well is the amount of money it's going to take to actually put that together, because even if stuff's been filmed, it's potentially not been finished, and all these special effects and stuff cost a hell of a lot of money to sort of render and finish. So it's going to be a very expensive process.
It was pretty much finished. It was pretty much done. People have seen it, I think. So,
have they?
Yeah, well, not like people, but like, you know, like friends of Snyder and stuff, and people they've sent it to have seen it. But then apparently this film apparently got a standing ovation when they first showed it to the studio executives.
No.
Maybe they were just clapping because it finally fucking ended.
Yes. Well, anyway, I think that's enough gas on Batman v Superman: The Dawn of Justice. It's a good movie if you like that sort of thing. If you don't, it's not very good. So, if you enjoyed the podcast, please give us a rating, 5 stars, if at all possible. And if you still haven't written a review, make sure you do that as well, because if you do ratings and reviews and subscribe to the podcast, we go up a little bit on the ladder. And since lockdown as well, everybody and their uncle and dog are making podcasts, so it's even more difficult to get up there on the kind of ladder. So
just after the content with the fan base of this film, we are not going to get 5-star reviews. There's going to be some ones flying our way, I'm pretty sure.
No, I didn't think of that. We're on the internet as well, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and the website address is, Matthew?
Moviebunkerpodcast.com.
So go along there and look at our faces. We're on there in black and white, very moody.
Oh, yeah, moody.
So next time there'll be a movie or a guest. We're not quite sure. We'll see what happens first, eh, Matt?
Yeah, let's not tie ourselves down.
So
we're like the jazz podcast, just keeping it free form.
We're basically ad-libbing, as you know. So until next time, bunker down. I
don't want that to stick.
I keep saying it to wind you up.
Bunker out. You can't just put the word bunker in front of a goodbye phrase and think that's good enough.
But there's a catchphrase. It's a catchphrase. It's got legs. It's been 2 years and we still haven't got an ending.
It's because bunker doesn't really go with anything.
What are you going to say then?
Bunker. I don't know.
Just say goodbye.
Just, bye.
Bye.
Ciao.
Bye.